fantastic lead up. We've heard now the very strong message about the powerful evidence about what needs to be done. And I'm very proud to be introducing the section about some of the responses, some of the good practice that we have around Wales. And I'm going to be giving a brief introduction to the healthy preschool scheme in Wales, but that's just the lead up to hearing from. We've got our colleagues from Powers who are going to speak about their actual work, and then we're going to hear after that from dietetics work, an example of dietetics work happening in North Wales. So, I've got a clicker here.
Yeah, just that one. Yeah, that's one.
Okay, so just brief introduction. So here's a line that's from Public Health Wales's strategic plan, and just to get a sense of where the importance of early years lies. So the child's early years are a key time to ensure good outcomes later in life, including better learning, access to good work and fulfilling life. And the origins of many inequalities in health lie in early childhood and before birth. The early years are a critical part of childhood development of youngsters when they grow, develop, play and learn. And this phase is a key factor in determining future health and well-being. Early years is one of the setting programmes that Public Health Wales delivers. We have a number of different programmes around different parts of life, and the Healthy Preschool scheme is a really important programme that I'm hoping to get bigger, because at the moment it's smaller than the Healthy School scheme as it is, but we'll come on to that in a moment. Looking at the context of the Healthy Preschool scheme, we've got a number of different ways, a number of different settings that can influence early years health. So there are possible NHS settings around what happens in GP practices. There are settings that happen before pregnancy. There are settings in pregnancy for babies and toddlers. And all of these have opportunities for influence in improving health. But what I'm going to be talking about is the Healthy Preschool scheme, which is the one actual scheme that we have to influence in the early years stages. So the Healthy Preschool scheme was launched nationally in 2011, and at the moment we have over 575 organisations. It goes up by the day, so I'm sure that number is already out of date. My colleagues will update me. So we cover lots of different early years settings. So how the scheme works. So we work across 4 different domains of the way that these settings might work. We look at the way they plan and deliver their work. We look at their leadership and communication. We look at their ethos and environment, and we look at family and community involvement. So for all topics, we want the settings to think about those things. And the way that we arrange the topics, it's slightly different from how we do it in the Healthy School scheme, because these are more appropriate for the early years settings. So we're looking at nutrition and oral health together. We look at physical activity and active play. We look at mental and emotional health, well-being and relationships. We look at environment, hygiene, safety, and workplace health and well-being. And interestingly, a lot of preschool settings are also members of the Healthy Working Wales Small Workplace Award scheme. So that's another healthy settings programme that I'm also responsible for. So the settings are really interested in the health of their staff as well as for their children. So what happens across all of those domains and the topics is that the settings gather their evidence about what they're doing under those topics, and they have guidance from local coordinators, who we'll hear from in a moment. And once they've completed their sections, once they've met the things that they could be doing to contribute to that work, they are inspected by assessors who visit, And then when they've passed, there are celebration events, and those are very motivating events, a big celebration locally, and the awards are given. So just to give you an idea of the kind of things that the settings may do to assemble their evidence. So within the nutrition and oral health section, the kind of things that they might do might be to provide training for their staff on nutrition skills for life. They might engage with Design to Smile around the oral health work. They might take part in role play games about cooking and shopping so that the children learn about those things. The children may help to prepare and serve their own food. They may visit local allotments, and the children may learn about the growing of fruit and vegetables. They might work with the community dental service or health visitors or dietitians or speech or language people so that they cover as much of that as they can. Probably the most important thing is that the meals offered in the settings are based on Welsh Government food and health guidelines for early years and childcare settings, which we've heard about earlier. So for the physical activity and actual play side, which I'll cover as part of the contribution on obesity, they might have a play worker or play to learn training for the staff. There should be a free choice of play and activities. We'd like them to have daily dance sessions or action songs. If possible, we want them to have outdoor play areas, adventure play equipment, climbing walls, swing or slides. Now that isn't possible for all settings, but if they can do it, that's great. We want the staff to be role models, whether it's about walking or getting involved in games and dancing. We want the daily routine to include hand washing after play sessions and at other times. Asking the parents and carers to partake in voluntary activities or sponsored activities with the children. And we'd like them to have a toy library or home tasks. And home tasks are really interesting. They can be all sorts of work done where the children take away toys or things that they have to record their progress on. And it's really important, if it's possible, to have them focusing on any of the health topics. So I'm going to be quiet now, and I'm going to first before handing over to my Paris colleagues, I just want to make sure that I mention Rachel, because Rachel, who's been doing the IT bit at the top, is actually my right-hand person within my team about working with the Healthy Schools programme. But even more importantly, we've got the colleagues from Paris who are here to represent an example of the programme itself. So I'll hand over to Sarah and Mary, who will tell you more about themselves and their work.
Thanks. Hi, first of all I want to say we've been asked to come along and talk about specific I suppose within the scheme, preschools. But I just want to say there are so many fantastic things going on across Wales, in similar veins, I suppose. So we're the lucky ones. We got to come and talk to you. But there are some around the room actually that are involved in very many things to support, particularly the food. We call it the food and fitness elements, if you like, in oral health. Of the preschool scheme. We were actually, I've been working in healthy schools, so I'm not a preschools expert. We'll come on to that in a minute. But obviously the preschools came along and we expanded into that. Obviously Powys is a big county, there are a lot of rural areas here, and so we've got a lot of dispersed population, a lot of dispersed settings, so there are particular challenges. So although we were doing our best, we could see the need for really training and support within individual settings rather than having central training. It was a huge challenge because we had very little money. But a few years ago, I think it was 2016-17, we had match funding from obesity grant, or at least a tackling obesity grant, which allowed us then to appoint somebody who was more specialist really in the preschools and she'll talk now in a little bit, Sarah, about the things that she then developed with partners. So that's been incredibly important and has been important across Wales, that extra funding. And part of that idea was to expand the scheme membership, but also to promote the 10 steps to a healthy weight. And so obviously with that in mind, we sat down and we had a look at what we needed and how we wanted to develop. And so, especially with in mind and having to work in settings, we are obviously limited with capacity. But Sarah will tell you about what she's developed and what she does with that, and where we're at with the settings. But just to say that when we did sit down, the first port of call was looking at the NICE guidance and looking at NICE guidance for maintaining a healthy weight, particularly for preschools, and also obviously the 10 steps and some of the evidence behind that. So we were kindly sent things that were ongoing with that. So with those two things in mind, and obviously there's a huge overlap there, we worked on a questionnaire, so we had some baseline data, and obviously then recruited a cohort of settings to actually do what we wanted to do, and which Sarah will tell you about now in a minute. So it's really important that we had that baseline, and actually when a setting that joins and is part of the Bach Iach scheme, which Sarah will talk about, there is data pre and post sort of training, post resources and so on, so after about a year. And that is in process of being evaluated actually this year, so hopefully that will prove quite successful. But I'm going to hand you over now to Sarah Power, who's been fantastic. She's developed most of these resources bilingually, haven't you? And she will tell you exactly what she does with them. Okay.
Knock it on. Yeah, thank you. Gwy'n da bawb, nice i bod yma heddiw. Sarah, so I'm Sarah Power. My background is in teaching, so I came from being a teacher into the healthy preschools 2 years ago, 2016, and the primary focus was to up the food and fitness levels within our healthy preschools. So it was around the physical activity and active play and the nutrition and oral health elements of the healthy preschool scheme. So because at the time we didn't know how long it was going to be going, it was likely to be short term, we wanted to make a big splash really, a big wow here we are sort of thing, and get in through the door. So rather than go with the healthy preschool scheme in its entirety, which can be a little bit frightening for some settings immediately because it's quite wide and varied, we went for a smaller one so that people could just get involved in what was become known as Bach Iach, small and healthy. So if they get involved with Bach Iach, they don't have to get involved with the healthy preschool scheme, but I have to say that there's nobody that's got involved with Bach Iach that hasn't got involved with the healthy preschool scheme. So it's like a little taster, a vehicle for us to get in through the door. So as a teacher with a teaching background, I know how everybody wants to come to you and tell you need to do this. You need to do that. No, you need to do this. No, this is really important. So for me, it was really important that I went with my teacher head on and thought, well, what would help me? And what would help me would be a bespoke box of resources with just critical things in. So in my box of resources, there are just things to tackle the food and fitness elements of the healthy preschool scheme. And you can have a look afterwards because I haven't got very long to talk. But I brought the box, and at the back of the room back there, I've got a display board. And on the display board, you can see in more detail some of the things that I've done. And also there's some books. Have a look in the books if you get a chance, because they're scrapbooks that the settings have kept for me, or they're scrapbooks that parents have given me. So have a look at those as well. So the first thing to do was to create this box of stuff that would be helpful, and then also alongside that, not to say here's the stuff that will be helpful and now I want you to give me lots and lots of reams of notes of what you've done. So what I've given them is an overview sheet, and they tick when they've done bits, and then we go and we have a conversation about it. So it's not cumbersome for them. They don't have to do lots. They can contact me by photos, and they've just got an overview. So it was really important that there was we weren't just looking at the setting leaders, that we needed to invite the parents on board as well. So it's really important that the parents were involved as well. So we were sort of looking for an all-round thing. So Bach focuses on the setting leaders. They get a box and they get me for the first year. So I go in and I do, because again, as a teacher, I know how annoying it can be sometimes when somebody comes and tells you how to do something properly, but they don't show you how to do it. So I go in and I do the stuff. So I work with the children and do whatever needs to be done. And then also we get to speak to the parents and work with a dietitian who's in the back room over there. Can you give us a wave, Karen? Karen back there is the dietitian. She works very closely with me, so she will come in and talk to parents. So we have parent sessions. So Karen goes in and talks to the parents about the new guidelines. She talks about the Eat Well guide and anything around that. So we've done things on fuss eaters and stuff like that, because that's generally what parents want to know. And then this one is hot off the press. This is new. But these are the bags that the settings get initially when they join. They get 5 of these bags, and they're like, it's like a loan scheme that goes out to the parents. And every child needs to have every bag, because the focus for this bag is on throwing and catching. Because I know we're talking about nutrition primarily today, but that goes hand in hand with physical literacy and being happy and healthy in your own body. So in this bag, there is something to do with throwing and catching. There's activity cards. There are 2 recipe cards for parents to do at home with their children. There's an interactive story that they can do activities with their children, and there's usually a keep me item as well. I mean, I can get all these out, but I won't. I'll show you. This one's a couche ball. So in this, because couche balls are brilliant, the kids love to feel couche balls because they feel gorgeous, and if you drop it, it doesn't go very far, doesn't travel away, so you don't have to go chasing after it. And the keep me item in this bag is a pattern for a pom-pom, to make a pom-pom, so they can make their own pom-poms. And a pom-pom really is a very cheap couche ball. So in some of the settings, they have made lots and lots of pom-poms, and they've got lots and lots of resources to do throwing and catching now as well. So as part of the parent bag, they've been able to contribute to what is going on. So we have, you can see a picture of the bag there. This one, which is just being developed, is to do around striking. So it's like extended hand-eye. And you know, once they're confident here, then they can go out to here. You can see that we work with lots of different partners. Sports development has been really important. Can you move on? Yeah, thank you. So this Bwyd Tanyach, and that's Karen up there, just talking to. And this is a particularly good preschool that we work in. Well, they're very, very keen, and those are the parents that came for just one session, and they brought their children with them as well, which was helpful and not helpful at the same time. But it was really good to be getting those people involved. So that is the parents whose children had just gone to the preschool, but it's also those parents were going upstairs to the toddler play group beforehand. So we're sort of reaching them here and here. That's the idea, that we don't want to just do this, we want to do the whole thing. And this is, I love this one, this collage, the size of that plate on her face. This is some of the things that some of the settings have sent me, and some of the work that they've done. Just a couple of pictures to show you.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, that was it?
Yep.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. So that's it. If you've got anything else to ask me, I've got lots of things at the back afterwards. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn.